Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. Welcome to fall. It's the first day I have on a sweatshirt and long pants. So fall is definitely in the air. Today we are going to look at some parts work. We're going to do an example of parts work. If you haven't seen my video on parts work and fragmentation, go watch those for an overview of what parts work is and how to do parts work and what is fragmentation work. But today we are going to look at an aspect of ourselves through the lens of parts work and see how we integrate back together. We are going to take a common personality trait of the TMS person, somebody who suffers with chronic illness or pain. And again, if you haven't seen any of my videos on TMS, you can go watch those. So let's take the personality trait of the goodist and the people pleaser. That's what Sarno says is the hallmark of somebody who is suffering from this mind-body syndrome. Before we get started, I want to pose a little question today as to whether these walk and talk videos, whether you can actually hear me with the increasing wind now that it's fall. So if you could comment below and let me know. This is when I have time to do the videos, but if no one can watch them due to the wind, I will create another time where I can do these from indoors. So this video is for all you people out there who try to be good, who want to be good, who want people to like them, and who please people, you know, at the expense of yourself so that you are liked, right? Respected, so that you're valued, so that you're appreciated, so that you're not abandoned. Many people who suffer with pain or chronic illness of any kind share this trait. They share this trait of wanting people to see them as a good person. They want to be liked. And there's a very good reason why chronically ill people share this trait. Because in order to survive in this world, we need connection. We need it. It is a need, okay? It's not a want, it's a need. We need to be connected with loved ones, our family, and our tribe for survival itself. If you are not connected to others for safety, you will not survive. So a lot of people with chronic illness have this as a very strong need. They know they need others in order to survive. And one of the flip sides of that is that, you know, they are not very self-confident, or they don't feel totally capable and confident in all their abilities, right? So they rely on others for things, for certain things, whether it's in a partner or a marriage or parents or your friends. You can't go it alone. And there's no shame in this. There's no shame because, you know, everybody needs a connection in order to survive. That is an actual human need. And especially if you're sick or you're injured or you're less than with chronic illness in some way, it really comes to light. It really comes to light that you need others, right? For your survival. So connection and the need to connect and keep your connections and be liked goes to the very top of the list. So for those people before chronic illness who were people pleasers and who did really focus on getting this need met, it doubles, it triples, it quadruples when you have chronic illness, because now you actually do need them. So, you know, some people are prone to getting chronic illness because they have these traits. And because when these traits taken to an extreme, right, needing connection, needing others, relying on others for safety and survival comes to an extreme, it plays out in an actual chronic illness where you literally do need others in a way that so that they won't abandon you, right? Because now they can't. It's almost like a trap. And this is at the very unconscious level. Of course, you are not trying to trap people into being there for you with this chronic illness, but this is how the subconscious plays it out. And this is why some of the reasons why this illness lingers and stays chronic. And this can be a very hard pill to swallow or a hard fact to look at. And we want to deny that, reject that aspect of ourselves. This becomes the shadow self, the part that is subconsciously and unconsciously using our illness to be liked and to trap people into a connection that where we are taken care of, we feel safe, we feel like they cannot leave us in this state. Nobody wants to see that aspect, that shadow side of themselves, and they will deny it and reject it fiercely, even in fighting ways, because that is not who they truly are. That is not what they truly want. And yet, that is how the subconscious and unconscious the pattern has played out. And the shadow is so egregious to look at, so sickening, and just we want to reject it so badly that we push it so far down in the shadow that we say no, that's not the reason. No, we fiercely deny and reject. And that's what a shadow part of you is. It's like the part that if somebody says, like, maybe this is what's happening, and you fiercely reject and deny that, that is a part of your shadow self that is so pushed down that you don't even want to look at, you don't even want to explore, you don't even want to consider. And so that's how we get these shadow aspects of ourselves. The chronically ill person who has people pleasing and wanting to be a good person so that they're liked as a core personality trait also has an opposite. So this is what parts work is. This is what the shadow is. The opposite is usually in the shadow, and the part of ourself, if you're doing parts work, that has been exiled or rejected. So it's deep in the shadow, it's been exiled, it's been rejected. So there's an opposite side to you, okay? Then the people pleasing and the wanting to be good so that you are liked. And that side of you is the selfish side, the side who has your own needs and who wants to be their truest self, who wants to expose and be and say the things that are actually in their heart and on their mind, and do the things that are actually in their heart and on their mind. But they often fear rejection or judgment or abandonment, and feeling embarrassed or ostracized or judged or criticized or ultimately abandoned is the people pleaser's worst nightmare. That is the worst nightmare, for someone to be mad at you or reject you or deny you or judge you or criticize you or, God forbid, abandon you. That is the worst nightmare, because you do not get that primal need met, right? The need, it is a real human need for connection. This is why they deny the part of themselves that is their true self. Now, that is also a human need. And this is why the chronically ill person struggles and suffers, because both are actual needs. They want to meet their own needs, their own selfish needs, because that is a true human need, a true human desire to be yourself, to show yourself, to have yourself seen and loved, and do things that align with who you truly are. This is truly a human need. But in this case, the need to connect and have connection and feel secure and safe and be taken care of as a people pleaser so that people will like you trumps, in a lot of cases, the need to meet your own needs. But they are both needs. And this is why you suffer. And this is why, it's chronic and it goes on. Because if you could just deny your own needs and people please and have this connection, you would be fine. But there's a part of you, the shadow self, the part that has been denied and rejected, this part of you that also needs their needs met. And they are being denied and rejected constantly and continually. And this is why symptoms and sensations and illness shows up in the body, because you cannot keep this up long term. Because yes, you need your need to have connection met, but you also have the need to be yourself and to be loved for who you are, right? To have the expression of who you are. And if you deny who you are, if you push that side of yourself down to meet the other need, you can never be happy. You can never feel at peace. You can never feel at ease, because the conflict and the tension between those two is so strong. We choose little aspects and little ways to meet that need because we have to, right? We may do small self-care things, or we may meditate, or we may do, small things that help, that alleviate, that tide us over, that basically keep us from actually self-destructing, right? So we do all these things. We eat the piece of cake that we actually don't want to eat, but we're filling our own needs. Like, this is what I want. I'm gonna have to do and be what I want. Because for some of the big things, you feel like you can't, right? And so because you're not in those situations where you really want to be who you are with the people that you love most and express the truest version of yourself rather than please, you have to find other ways to meet those personal unmet needs, and you can never have any chance to be healed, healthy, and whole. And so we do this in little ways all the time. And this is why, and this is how we keep managing to go on and to survive. But it's chronic because the other one is stronger. The other need is stronger for connection. So we're really lopsided in the way that we meet those needs. And the self suffers. The selfish side of ourself suffers in comparison to being liked and pleasing others in order to be liked, and to not have to put ourselves out there and face judgment, criticism, rejection, and abandonment. So at a very high level, one of the reasons I believe, after much investigation this entire year, that I had the major setback that I did after COVID, why I was set up for my perfect storm to really be set back in a massive way that I could have never been prepared or expected for. Because yes, there was my immune system and the illness and getting the pneumonia, and there was a lot of physical reasons that set me up. But why did I crash so hard and so long and so chronically? Why did the patterns reemerge of my old illness? And one of the reasons I believe so is because we just went through, and I don't want to talk about this too much on my channel, and that's one of the things, because I want to be accepted, I want to be liked, right, by society. And if you talk too much about certain topics right now, you're canceled, or you're judged, or you're criticized, or you're abandoned by certain people. And so I think we have just gone through a period of 2 to 3 years of me finally being selfish, meeting my own needs, saying what I truly thought about what was going on in the world and what I truly needed, and saying thoughts and having opinions and speaking my truth in front of family and friends who did not share those same opinions. And because they did not share those same opinions, this is the people pleasers and the goodists' worst fear and worst nightmare: to be judged, to be criticized, to be rejected, and literally in these cases, abandoned, re-abandoned, right? We're already afraid because of our illness that we're going to be abandoned. But in this case, it was like, an actual, coming from a legislative level, was like, the message was to basically ostracize people who didn't believe the status quo. You can't even make a video on YouTube without following the terms of what public health wants you to say. And if not, your videos are taken off, you're taken down, you're rejected, you're denied, you are judged, you're criticized, you are called conspiracy theorists, whatever. So it was a very, very hard time for me. But as I started to speak those truths, as I started to stand up for who I am and what I believe and what I think, and just be myself in the face of judgment and criticism, even not being able to see, like being abandoned again by family and friends, I did really improve. My health improved greatly to the point where I was nearly fully healed. And it was amazing during that stressful period of time how I could thrive and improve so much. But yet, when I stopped speaking, because it was easier to stay silent when there was a conversation happening, it was easier to just not say anything, it was easier just not to post videos, it was easier just not to speak up, it was easier not to share that link, it was easier not to argue with a spouse or a partner or a parent or a friend, it was easier not to teach my children or to tell them what I think in the face of maybe what the school has said. So staying silent, again, is a people-pleasing tactic. It's people-pleasing. So it's wanting to be liked over having that need met and stay connected for your own safety and security in this world, rather than be who you truly are and risk criticism, judgment, abandonment. But I was not meeting my own needs, and that got worse. You know, over the time when I became ill, I completely cut myself off from any aspects of myself that could even think or discuss it. I stopped watching any news channels. I didn't want to know about anything. I denied that aspect of myself completely because I needed to focus on healing. And actually that was a good decision. However, I just stopped being who I was. I let all of that go. I just focused on what would be easiest for other people, what would please other people the most, what would have my relationships be the most solid and stable and no tension, because I needed to heal. And it's this fear of the tension and wanting to just keep everything peaceful. We want to heal so bad, we want everything to be peaceful, that we deny the aspect of ourselves. And in whatever way you deny something about yourself, you deny getting your own needs met over, pleasing other people to keep the relationship calm and stable and keep yourself safe, then we're at war with ourselves. We are never in peace. We're never in harmony. We're never at ease, because both those needs need to be met, but one of them is pushed into the darkness, has been exiled, is in the shadows, and we need to integrate that part of ourselves back in. I'm not saying put your own personal selfish needs ahead of others. That's not what I'm saying. They both need to be met. But we need to begin to allow that aspect of ourselves back in as well, equally, so that we can find a balance between the two. And that's how we integrate. We don't want to bring the selfish part of ourselves in where we're only meeting our needs now, and we're denied and rejected, disowned by everybody, and we have no connection and we're completely isolated. That's also what a lot of chronically ill people do. In order to heal, they think they need to be completely selfish, and they lose the connection, the need of connection and relationship and safety, and they're not going to heal as well because they pushed that into the shadow at some point to do the opposite so that they can heal. It's not about just doing the opposite and bringing that opposite shadow aspect of yourself to light and focusing all your light now and shining only on that. That is not what it's about. It's about finding balance and relationships between those two polar traits that exist within you, the need to be selfish and the need to please others, equally, to find a balance and a harmonious relationship within them, so that one aspect of yourself isn't completely denied and disowned and rejected by yourself, You're afraid it's going to be denied and rejected by other people, and so you deny and reject and disown it yourself, because it hurts less if you feel that you are slightly in control of it, and you can bring that part of yourself out and meet your own needs in various small ways along the way. You're feeding yourself these breadcrumbs because you're in control of it. But if you bring that self out in relationship to the other aspect of yourself and make it equally as important, and you're denied and rejected and disowned and abandoned by others, you have no control. You feel zero control over that. And so doing it to yourself, rejecting and denying that aspect of yourself, seems the more palatable option. Seems like you still have some control back there in your unconscious and subconscious mind to be able to meet your needs in breadcrumbs of ways and behind closed doors. But the problem is you never really get the need of connection met, because the other person doesn't know the real you. They don't know who you are, and you can never find that true connection and that true intimacy where they love you for completely who and what you are. And that is what you yearn for. You yearn for the type of connection, not just a surface connection where people don't abandon you and don't judge you and don't leave you, but for somebody to actually see you and understand you and love and accept you fully for everything that you are, without having to hide any parts of yourself in order to get that love, and to feel like that love is unconditional, no matter what part of yourself that you show. And that's what you yearn for. That's what we all yearn for. That type of true intimacy and connection with another human being, or with other human beings, or with your tribe. The funny part of the whole thing is that in trying to get this connection, you can never really truly connect. And that's another reason why you stay sick, why you're chronically ill, because the need that you've chosen to meet, oh God, it's really windy. I hope you can hear this video. You can never really truly meet either need when you hide aspects of yourself in the shadow and deny and reject them at all costs. You can never even truly meet the aspect that you put forward to be the most important to you, which is pleasing others so that you are liked and you never get rejected or denied or abandoned. You never really get that full connection or that full intimacy that you crave and you desire. But when you can be your true self, and when you can put the relationship, when you find a true balance between those, and you can be yourself and also love others for who they are, and you can put them first but also you first, you can meet both needs. You can find true intimacy, and you can also meet your own selfish needs without feeling like you might be abandoned by somebody you love for showing them the sides of you that you think are the worst aspects of yourself, or that you fear will be judged and rejected the most. So once you become aware of your shadow side of yourself, of the part that has been exiled, we want to begin to integrate it back into ourselves by noticing, by becoming aware, and then by being who we are, in this case, meeting our own selfish needs, showing the part of us that we normally don't show to others. And I'm going to call out another thing, that people who have taken this people-pleasing trait to extreme to get these needs met so that they aren't abandoned, a lot of people will hide their illness, will hide their chronic illness, will pretend that they are okay when they're in public, when they're around other people, when they are near their children or their in-laws or whoever it is, because they fear that if they show that they're in pain or they're suffering or they're not everything that they want to portray to be, and they're actually falling apart, or not okay, or suicidal, or an anxious mess, or completely suffering in pain, like physical pain, or anxious and riddled with anxiety or depression, that they will be judged, criticized, abandoned, and not liked. So they even keep the aspect of themselves, the most painful part that they're going through right now, which is the chronic illness itself, a secret from most people. They push it down into the shadows so that none of their needs are met, so that they have to perform at a high level in spite of what they're going through, because to be vulnerable, to be judged, to be lazy, to be thought of as crazy or a burden or whatever it is, not perfect, would destroy their self-image so much and their relationships so much, because they don't want people viewing them or thinking of them that way, that they hide it. Okay, hopefully this will be a little bit better, but God, it's windy this morning. Anyways, if you have ever done this, if you have hid your illness from other people because you just don't want to come across as weak and vulnerable, you don't want to burden them with your problems, so you just hide aspects of yourself. But the more intimate the relationship and the closer the relationship becomes, often this is where you may have one or two people where that is all you talk about. That's all you talk about. That's all you show them. You save that entire aspect of your chronic illness for them and them alone, because you trust them not to leave you or abandon you. And so you use that, in a sense, right? Another aspect of yourself, to trap in the closeness and the intimacy and the fact that they couldn't abandon you, because you show all of it to them. And how could anybody with a heart or a soul not do things for you and help you and stay with you and be with you? So there is many different aspects to these shadow parts of ourselves, and they come out in many different ways, sometimes differently with different relationships and different people. But if you want to be the truest version of yourself, if you want to just be you to everyone, the same you don't have to change it for one person and be different for someone else in order to get your needs of connection and closeness and safety met and approval met. If you could just be who you are, take it or leave it in all cases, you would feel so good, and you would begin to heal that aspect of yourself, and you would begin to become whole again. So when we recognize that we have a shadow side to ourselves, and all extreme personality traits that we do have a polar opposite. So we do have the opposite aspect within us. We have a negative and a positive to both of us, for all of us. And when we realize that one of our sides has been exiled into the shadows, then we need to do the work to integrate back in. So this means showing who we truly are, becoming who we truly are, saying what we truly think and feel, even in the face of judgment, criticism, rejection, and abandonment. And this is the worst fear of the people pleaser. So as you begin to show yourself to the people in your life and say the things that are on your mind and get your needs selfishly met and be your most authentic self, people do begin to get upset with you and reject it and deny it and criticize it and judge it, because you have not been honest with them. You've created a relationship with them on this aspect of yourself that you put forward as the people pleaser, the good person. And so they did not see the truest you. So in a sense, when you bring the truest you out, they feel like they've been duped. They've been tricked, and they will often judge and criticize and get angry or be upset or feel, they will reject you in small ways. And this is because it is true. They have been, duped or tricked in a sense. They have been. And when you bring your truest self out, they may not like it. That is not maybe who they signed up for. They signed up for the good person who is the people pleaser and who acts the way you've acted and says the things that you've said. They didn't sign up for this other version of you that you are now bringing out and bringing into the light. And so when we get these responses that are less than desirable, and so when they see these other sides to you that in their eyes are less than desirable, they will criticize it. They will judge it. They might get in a tiff about it. They may get in a little fight and pull away from you. Like, these are all the worst nightmare to the people pleaser. And this is why you've kept it hidden. This is why you aren't the way you are. But when you can bring it out, and when you can do it in a way that also puts their needs there, like, we're not taking away that aspect of ourselves, but we're bringing out the other. Even though we may get some flack back for this, we may have to experience exactly what we didn't want to experience. And there may be people who completely walk away from you and abandon you. And that is complete nightmare and complete scary to somebody who is a people pleaser and a goodist, because you have kept this up your whole life so that this doesn't happen. And you may have to experience some of the things and the feelings that you don't and never wanted to experience in order to integrate and to become whole again. And you have to learn to be okay with that. And it's hard. It's hard to just be yourself in the face of rejection or criticism or judgment, or God forbid, abandonment. God forbid somebody says, like, this isn't for me. The true you isn't for me. But it's better to know that, because the truth is there are people who will attract to the truest version of you. There are people who want to be in relationship with the truest parts of yourself, with who you really are. And if you don't bring that person and that part of you back into the light, back, integrate it with who you are, and have your needs be met out in the open like this, you will never have a chance at true intimacy and connection with the relationships that you have in your life currently. And if they can accept these parts of you, and if you can work through the feelings of rejection or criticism and stay grounded and stay strong and be okay with that, because you're meeting your own needs as well, then these relationships and these connections that you have will deepen, and they will become more intimate and more real and more true, and you will, at your core, feel even more whole and more healed, and be getting more of what you really, truly want met. So this is how we heal. This is how we integrate aspects of ourselves back together. So I wanted to give an example that is relevant for chronic illness, and so that you can see that there's always an exiled part of ourselves. There's always a shadow side, and maybe people pleasing and a goodist, maybe there's different shadow sides to yourself that really need to be brought to the light. But this is a good example to use, and I hope that you can see that, like, when you bring this selfish side, you risk judgment. You risk the very thing that you don't want. So you are going to have to stand up to it and feel it. You're going to have to be able to be okay to feel what you don't want most. And that's always what it is about healing. It's like we have to feel what we're denying, what we don't want to feel. So when we know this about ourselves and we bring this aspect of ourselves forward, we may experience that. We probably will experience some of the things we don't want to feel. And some of them may be very hard and very difficult to feel and face. And yet, we have to neutrally be able to feel them, because that's how we integrate back together. That is how we become whole. And not terrified to feel what we don't want to feel. We have to face it. We have to feel it to heal it, as they say. And everything is going to be okay. You are okay. You are, a fragment of everything. You've constructed, an ego or an identity, and you can change because you are everything. You are all things. You can be all of it. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? It doesn't have to be negative and positive. It doesn't have to be black and white. It can blend. It can all be one. We are all one. It is okay. You are safe. You are safe here in this world. And when we can begin to meet our own needs and still feel safe, then we integrate, then we become whole, then we bring those two aspects, those two polar aspects of ourselves back into wholeness, back into integration, where they're all free to be seen. And we can still feel okay, and we can still feel safe. So I hope that you have understood this video. I hope you could hear it because of the wind. Please comment below. I think there's some really important elements of parts work here that will help you really understand how to do it and how to understand it and why we need to become whole, why it's all about, why it is it's about feeling what we don't want to feel so that we can bring these aspects of ourselves back into wholeness. Right? And realizing that we're safe, realizing that we are okay, realizing that we already are whole, realizing that we already are loved, and realizing that we already are healed, that we already are free. We can free ourselves, we can heal ourselves. This is how we begin to do it. So hit like, subscribe, share it, and I will see you in the next one.